Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Mugyanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Mukakaroti Vachalam Pangoram Gayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
So we're going to be looking at the context of Gita in terms of how Arjuna was able to deal with the betrayal from his very close ones.
Ooh, I like this one.
I was smiling because I just had a
Me too.
outreach call with her on this topic.
Oh, is it? Okay.
And then she's thinking, how did she come up with a class in the last 10 minutes? So, oh my God, yes. So this is going to be a very, very interesting, painful, honest look at what betrayal feels like. Hare Krishna, Tri Sandhya, welcome. Nice to see you after a long time. and of all the days you join us fully present on the video on the topic of betrayal. Oh my God. All right. So with all humility and gratitude, I like to share some important points that we can learn in the context of, I mean, Mahabharata. I was reading Mahabharata and looking at how Arjuna's situation was. We usually, when we start Gita, we just start with, okay, the Pandavas and the Kauravas, and they're on the battlefield. But before that, Arjuna went through a lot of betrayal again and again and again by so many of his loved ones. So I prepared a little, I mean, just a few slides, and then we're going to have a discussion, basically. So Arjuna's emotional state of being at the commencement of the war was obviously not very strong or healthy. And he was experiencing the aftermath or after effects of trauma due to betrayal. And today we'll be discussing a little bit in that context of how does it feel for great personalities. We study in Srimad Bhagavatam, we study in the Gita. I would like to share a couple of verses that are very relevant to this topic as well.
So, Radha Govinda, sorry.
Go ahead.
Betrayal from his cousins?
Yeah, I mean, not just cousins, even
That's
from
all I
him.
can think of.
Okay, I'm coming there. Actually, that's my next.
I can't wait. Okay.
That's the second part of the talk today. Okay, maybe I should just jump into it. Let me just go. So each betrayal begins with trust. I mean, I found this to be relevant topic that in one sense, Arjuna stopped trusting Duryodhana or the Kauravas long time ago. So the betrayal that hurt Arjuna was not actually from the Kauravas. It was not actually, it was not actually from Duryodhana or the cousins, because you only put your trust in somebody that you believe in and somebody who has a qualification. I mean, let's look at Mahabharata. When they were kids, Duryodhana poisoned Bhima and he threw him into a river, right? I mean, betrayal, talk about betrayal. And they were just kids. So that emotional, any other human being with that emotional trauma, right? of being drowned, being poisoned by your own brother, by your own cousin brother, and experiencing that as Kunti Devi was experiencing that as the other 4 brothers who lost Bhima for several days. Bhima went missing for several days, and they actually had prepared his Shraddha ceremony, everybody thought he's dead. So they went through that grief of death of Bhima. And then when Bhima comes back, he explains the situation of how Duryodhana betrayed, how he, murderous Duryodhana, how he tried to kill Bhima. Of course, this is a very good example for us to look into in today's discussion. We're going to rewrite betrayal. Let me be more straightforward. I want to rewrite betrayal. When I'm going through a particular situation right now with a friend who betrayed. So I'm going to rewrite how I'm going to read that story, how I'm going to look at that story. So I'd like you all to join with me and do that, looking at it from a different angle. So let's look at Bhima's angle. Now, when Bhima was thrown into, of course, Bhima trusted Duryodhana, right? He trusted him. He went to that place where Duryodhana had organized all this feast. He trusted Duryodhana when he gave him the sweet rice. He thought it's sweet rice, right? He didn't know it was mixed with poison. So he trusted him. And okay, that happened. And when Bhima came back, he was already a powerful soldier, to be a powerful warrior. But when he came back from dead, really came back from dead, there's a whole description in Mahabharata speaking about the Shesha, what do you call them? The Sarpas, the Sarpa Loka. So under earth region is where the serpents reside, and these serpents have mystical powers, and serpents are also Vasuki. Vasuki is actually a divine serpent. So the progenitor, what do you call them? Not progenitors. Descendants of Vasuki are also living in this dimension. So when they found Bhima, they actually tried to come and bite him to counteract the poison. The best way to counteract poison is through poison. So they were trying to come and bite Bhima to take out the poison from his body. And Bhima just started fighting all these snakes so ferociously. And they all got beaten up. And then they went to the king, we tried to save this boy, and this boy just beat us up. And then, of course, the king brings Bhima to rescue, and then he gives him this pot of nectar to drink. And he says, from further on, no poison can ever harm you. You're so super powerful now. So he drinks that nectar, and then he becomes as strong as, thousands of elephants. And he becomes so strong, like hundreds and thousands of snakes, that no poison can ever harm him. So this is the angle that I want to take today with, let's go this slide. The saddest thing about betrayal is that it never comes from your enemies. We never feel betrayed by our enemies, because again, there's no trust there. But betrayal happens only when there is trust. And so we have to look at our life, look at our situation when we hurt because we trust somebody. And then when they hurt us, it hurts much more than what an enemy could ever do. That's the truth. At the same time, yes, Krishna's power is best released through our brokenness. When we are betrayed, we break down, we are broken. And in this Bhima story as well, we can see how that situation turned out in favor of the Pandavas, because Bhima became even more powerful. Similar situation, right? Duryodhana cheated. Betrayals. Like we can have a whole just 1 hour talk about different instances when Duryodhana betrayed the Pandavas. He betrayed them by doing the dice game and making Shakuni use his mystic powers. He had those dice made of the bones of his ancestors, and those ancestors wanted to take revenge on the Kurus, and therefore they were residing in that bone, and they would fall according to Shakuni's wish of, I want this number. So they cheated the Pandavas, and they took away their entire empire. They took away their wealth. They took away their property. They took away the brothers. They took them as slaves. And And then on top of that, Duryodhana broke rule after rule after rule by asking for the brothers to be put at stake and asking for Draupadi to be put at stake. And the Pandavas kept doing it because they didn't call Krishna in, right? They still were thinking, I'm still together. You see, they were still not broken down. They were still trying to no, this time it'll be different. Yudhishthira was like, this time the dice will fall in my favor. Okay, I somehow lost Nakul and Sahadev, but I can't lose Bhima. I can't lose Arjuna. This time is going to be in my favor. And then he lost Arjuna. He lost Bhima as well. And he said, I can't lose Draupadi. Come on, it's impossible. And he lost Draupadi as well. And
so he kept trusting, right?
Kept trusting in himself. So what I'm trying to say here is also trust is what makes us feel betrayed. And also we need to check the trust that we have on ourselves when in crisis. In trust, meaning the level of trust I have with myself, like Yudhishthir had, trusting that, I don't know if it's called trust, it's kind of hope against hope or something like that. Trust would be, trusting Krishna, right? But he was like hoping, it was more of a hope than trust. He was hoping to fix himself. He was hoping to use his powers. And he didn't accept brokenness. That's the point. He wasn't able to accept his brokenness. Now, and then, even then he didn't stop, right? Duryodhana, he got everything he wanted, and he still wanted to insult Draupadi, right? But I want us to look at this scenario from another angle. Arjuna betrayed Draupadi. You see, the point is he betrayed Draupadi by not rescuing her, by not protecting her. And so did Yudhishthir, so did Bhima, so did Nakul and Sahadev.
All of them.
Yeah. So sometimes we get into situations where maybe we are the betrayers. So Arjuna was actually attacked by two sides in the battlefield. He was attacked by two sides. One thing is how he was betrayed. Another was how he was unable to protect. So there are several instances in Mahabharata where Krishna comes again and again, to guide Pandavas. And this is one of my favorite instances where Alexa, stop. This is one of my favorite instances where Krishna appears and the Pandavas are really going through a really tough time. And tough time meaning not emotionally, but as emperors of the world, they were in a very unfavorable, unpleasant situation. And then Krishna comes and asks Kunti, this is the time that they escaped the Varanavat, the lac house, when Duryodhana, that's another betrayal, right? He said, oh, we made this really nice palace, for you to stay there. Come, please stay. And then he built the whole palace with wax. It was a wax house. And then they set fire to that wax house. Unfortunately, they were already warned by Vidura to have an escape plan, right? So then they had an escape plan. And then when they escaped from there, they didn't go back to the kingdom. Okay, that's another lesson we can learn. When somebody betrays us, this is something I learned from Khushbu. So this is credits to Khushbu. I just had a call with her before this meeting. And she was just saying, what is the need for apology? It's just selfish to want that person to admit that, oh, I have hurt you. But it's so easy. Like, I was really clinging on to that idea of, I feel better if this person realizes and comes and tells me, right? But the truth is far from it. It's not going to give us relief. It's really not going to give us relief because it's selfish. And what Pandavas did, they just disappeared. They just went away and they were roaming the forest, right? And at that time, Krishna comes and asks Kunti, what do you want? Actually, I'm not 100% sure if he asked in the forest or it was after. But Krishna asks Kunti, what do you want? What benediction do you want? I'm willing to give you anything. Oh my God. You know what Kunti asks? She asks for poverty. And then she says, ಹೊಟ್ಟೆ ದೊರೆ ಬಟ್ಟೆ ದೊರೆಯದಂತೆ ಮಾಡು ಬಟ್ಟೆ ದೊರೆತರೆ ಇಂಬು ದೊರೆಯದಂತೆ ಮಾಡು ಇಂಬು ದೊರೆತರೆ ರಂಗ ನಿನ್ನ ಪಾದಾರವಿಂದದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಂಬಿಟ್ಟು ಸಲಹೋ. She says, may we not get food, may we not get clothing, may we not get shelter, and may we not get anybody to be compassionate with us. And if at all we get shelter or compassion, may it be the shelter and compassion of your lotus feet. When I first heard it, or I've been hearing it for a while, it didn't click me. It didn't click to me, right? But then as I'm going through this little betrayal in my life, I'm actually getting a glimpse of how it can feel when you have no other shelter. How it can feel when the people that you trust the most, the people you love the most, the people that you would give your life to or whatever, those people can do something so whatever, cheap. And then it can really hurt. It can really hurt, but at the same time, that hurt makes us ready. You see, like Krishna, it said God's power is best released through our brokenness. And then when I'm experiencing like, oh my God, that Kunti Devi's prayer makes a lot of sense. Because if I have people who give me food and the shelter and everything I have, it's very difficult to cry to the Lord. And if I'm all perfect, my sadhana is perfect, I'm not having any struggles, I can't go in front of the Lord with that open brokenness and put my head down and say, dear Lord, I'm really helpless, help me. So these situations like this makes us so humble that we are able to, we're given an opportunity to accept that. Something else I want to say, maybe I need to stop this share to say that. Thank you, Khushbu. You helped me also to process this. Now, let me frame this. After being betrayed, most of us want two things. Number one, usually we want both things at the same time. One thing, we want the other person to be hurt. We want the other person to feel our pain. And so we want them to suffer, as deeply and as excruciatingly as we have been wounded. And we want to rise, let me put it this way. And at the same time, we want to offer this person, we want to rise above all this pain that we're experiencing in this situation, and we want to also forgive the person. I mean, especially as devotees, that's kind of a combination. We want the other person to suffer, but we also want to forgive the person, because as devotees, we know that by not forgiving, we are only holding on to something that's going to hurt us. But the truth of the matter is both these tactics don't work. Neither of this works. Why? Because wounding words, wounding actions, tends to backfire and make us feel as terrible as the person you wanted to hurt. And even I may give as many excuses I want. No, if I put it in this way, then she will feel enough hurt, but I'm not going to do injustice or whatever, right? Whatever justifications I may give. It's like, I'm living in a glass house. I'm hurt. I'm hurting. And if I'm going to throw a little stone at the other person who has already hurt me and has proved their capacity to hurt me, right? They can hurt me much more, because remember, I'm in the glass house. I mean, I'm using I because I don't want to say you, but you get the idea. We sometimes are in a glass house. We have vulnerable emotions. We are feeling sensitive. We are feeling wounded. We are hurt. We are like wounded soldiers. And yes, the tendency is to want to say something, but and the forgiveness is half-hearted. It comes off as more like, I want to forgive, of course, but I also want the other person to suffer. I want the other person to, and the truth is, according to the Vaishnava Siddhanta, we cannot learn our lessons joyfully if we do not wish for the other person to learn their lessons joyfully. So because the truth of the matter is, in this betrayal, there is Krishna involved as well. He wants us to learn something in this situation, besides like Bhima, to give some strength, to give us some nectar, to give us some realization. There is also what was I saying? There is, there is Krishna's hand behind this also for the other person, because they are as much spirit souls as we are. So there are actions that you can take to heal yourself, because every hurt has its own story. So does every healing. So we can say that you can heal yourself when you have filled that hole, which is left behind that betrayal. And you can heal the other person. Really, you can heal. We can heal. We should heal the other person when we sincerely drop the need for revenge. And Krishna actually tells Draupadi at one point, after Duryodhana has tried to disrobe her, and she's so furious. She's furious more with the Pandavas, right? And of course, she's furious with Duryodhana as well. And she's so pained. And then at one point, Krishna tells Draupadi, you have to forgive Duryodhana. And she looks at him like, what? How can I forgive Duryodhana? How could you be saying this to me? She didn't want to even talk with anybody. She was only open to listen to Krishna, right? And she gets like really agitated when Krishna says you and then he says, do you want justice? Do you want justice? And Draupadi says, yes, of course. And then Krishna says, if you want justice, then you have to forgive. You cannot get justice if you don't forgive. And yeah, it's a very...
that's because it's past life stuff, right?
Well, I think it's the nature of justice. Justice, even in our in our tarot cards, there is a justice card. And the justice card is the card number 5. And it represents Jupiter. And Jupiter has 2 cards, justice and judgment. And they're not pleasant cards, meaning justice means accepting that everything that's happening with me is fair and just. So, the justice has those 2 sides to it. One is when I want justice, usually we want forgiveness for ourselves and we want justice to be done to the other person. When we make a mistake, we expect that people should forgive us. But when the other person makes a mistake, we want justice. And so the way to get justice from the other person is we need to forgive. That's Mahabharata basics. So where was I? So basically Krishna tells Draupadi that if you want justice, then you have to forgive Duryodhana, and she sincerely works towards it. So there is no question of withdrawing our fight. Draupadi still kept to the vow that I want to see Duryodhana punished. And Yudhishthira and Pandavas and Bhima, he took a vow that I'm going to rip open the thigh of Duryodhana, which he slapped and said, ask Draupadi to come and sit on. So I'm going to break that thigh. And then he also told the Shasana that he's gonna tear open his chest and he's going to drink the blood from it. That's Bhima. Only Bhima can make such vows and fulfill them as well. But the point is, they are Kshatriyas. They had that kind of chivalrous mood and the kind of violent aggression, protection in the mood of aggression. But the idea is that was done, especially for Draupadi, it was instruction about forgiveness. So remember that the only betrayals that inflict damage are the ones where an intimate bond has been torn. Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, the trust, the trust has been broken. And if you've experienced this kind of a bond with somebody, and then when this reality hits of betrayal, then that bond is ripped apart, right? So that's why we feel like we've lost a part of ourselves. Either it's a friendship, or it's a marriage or relationship, or it's the partner, or it's a business deal, whatever it is. When there has been a strong bond, then we feel that a part of us has been lost. That's why the justice card is often like an austere card of accepting that me losing that part is just.
And but it's not just the part, is it? It's all of you that gets ripped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets, yes, definitely. I mean, it's like one finger hurts, then the whole body hurts.
If it's that intimate, yeah.
Yeah. Something I was saying about okay. Anyway, how can we get out of this? How can we get out of this torment and find ourselves? That from that being torn apart and feeling lost. First thing, that's the verse I want to read from Bhagavatam. Sorry, that was not. I would have to read it from my phone because I'm unable to access my WhatsApp on the computer currently. This is the verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Gosh. Okay, the point in English, gaining some detachment. So stand back and view yourself as if you were the helper and not the victim. In other words, looking at your betrayal situation, not from emotions, but objectively with detachment. And this is, how can we do that? This is Bhagavatam verse that I'm clinging on to. It helps me immensely. For one who is anxious to engage constantly in hearing such topics, Krishna Katha gradually increases his indifference towards all other things. Such constant remembrance of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna by the devotee who has achieved transcendental bliss vanquishes all his miseries without delay. Wow. See, in that indifference, we need to develop that indifference because when we develop that indifference, then we will not be the tearing apart. That won't happen because we are indifferent to things. Yeah, I really like this verse. This is one of my mentor also often reminds me, develop indifference.
So what verse is this?
Sashraddhadanasya vivardhamana. I can send this to you, Sandhya, and I can send it to all of you if you want. I just have the verse. I don't know the number. Sorry, I'm not so much into numbers.
The chapter? You know the chapter?
I'll find it. Sashraddhadanyasya. Let me look at it.
You can send it in WhatsApp if you like.
1 to 16.
1 to 16. Okay, thank you.
I think. Vivartha.
Could you repeat it again? The whole thing, the verse in that, please.
I don't know why my watch. When I open my WhatsApp, this is playing, and I don't know how to like put it off.
Never mind. Just read the verse again, please.
In English. No, I need to find this. I need to give you the verse. Wait. For one who is, you know, this word anxious really put me in meditative state because it doesn't say that anxiousness is bad here. You see, it says that we should be anxious because
it says we should be.
Yeah. It says for one who is anxious to engage constantly in hearing such topics. Okay, I found it.
I think in this sense it's meant as eager. It's more, I mean, anxious can have different meanings according to the context.
It's 3rd canto, 5th chapter, text 13. 3, 5, 13.
3, 5, 13, and not the other one, right? Yeah.
3, 5, 13. No, not the other one because that in the other one it's just a mention, but this is the verse. 3, 5, 13. Yeah, I guess the word anxious, it's like we can we can channel. Why I like this verse is also because usually there is the need for protection. There is the need for being, again, like I said, we want apology. We want them to realize what they have done. It's so easy to advise somebody else, but when we're going through it, it's so hard. And then, okay, second tip, get detachment. Okay, and how do you get detachment? By putting our anxiety to engage in listening to Krishna Katha, and that will increase our indifference towards all other things. Second, don't indulge in emotions you cannot afford. This is such a big one. It hit me. So don't act as if you're feeling worse than you actually are, or better. So to not empower
I like
them.
that.
Don't indulge in emotions that you cannot afford. And I've done both. I've done both.
Sometimes you're people pleasing, aren't you? You don't want to show them how bad you are. So you are going to indulge in trying to make,
Yeah.
I'm positive, I'm okay, I think, and inside you're really feeling rough. So I can understand
game.
the side.
It's like a game, it's like a manipulation game. Like we want to use certain things to make the other person realize how bad, but then not the other things, because we don't want to look weak in those areas, but we want them to feel the pain in the other. There is a lot of self-will there. And as I'm going through this, I'm observing my thoughts and I'm observing what are the options that comes in my mind. I wanted to go through this. I wanted to learn this. I wanted to not so much I wanted to suffer. No, that didn't come to me, but in other occasions it has. And I was just observing why that happens. That happens because I am trying to derive some pleasure out of feeling victim. And I am until I came into this recovery program and 12 steps, etc., it was hard for me to detect. But now I can see more and more of how selfishness plays a role in these situations. And I do the fourth step. For those of you who know, like Sandhya, you know about the fourth step. No, I do the thing, who hurt me? What did they do? How is that affecting my sense of self-worth or my finances or my whatever areas of my life? What is my part in it? What is my responsibility in it? And how can I live in the solution? So that fourth column of the fourth step is the key to this thing of don't indulge in emotions you cannot afford. I really like this mantra. I should actually make a card and keep, when like different, when you're feeling betrayed, and read the card and don't indulge in emotions you can't afford. And yeah, last night I was experiencing so much of that emotion that I hardly slept. I slept for an hour and a half. And then I was just walking all around my community, chanting and walking. It's crazy, 2:00 in the morning, night, walking around. So yeah, why? Because the emotions get activated. Okay, next, make a plan for your emotional recovery. So looking at where I am hurting, feel the wound, but or like seeing, okay, there is the hurt there, but then also set out to heal those areas, to not remain in that position of I'm a victim. And don't rely simply on letting time do it, but take measures such as going to recovery groups, such as talking about it from an honest perspective with people that are solution oriented, etc.
Yeah,
then,
going for therapy.
Yeah, exactly. And then feeling the hole inside and grieve over it, but promise yourself that you will fill it. Yes, it's as much as it's emphasized, feel your pain, feel your things. It's as important as it is Arjuna, what Krishna did with Arjuna is very much helping Arjuna to live in the solution. It is not to empower the problem. It's not to empower his negativity. So we have to snap out of negativity if that's what we want. Because usually the trap is that the more we go into negativity, which Krishna, he let Arjuna do it for a while. like, in the first chapter, he let him do a little bit. But then he immediately pulled him and he put him on track. So we need to do the same with our minds. Okay, for a while, grieve. Okay, yes, you're feeling this. Okay, put yourself in that hole for a while, grieve over it, but promise yourself that you're going to fill it, you're going to move to the solution. And that requires compassion. Because I heard something from Savitri Mataji today in our Chaitanya Leela class. She was saying, like, if somebody betrayed you, if somebody hurt you, they already got very bad karma on their backs. So if anything, you should be feeling compassion for them. Because for the reason that they've hurt you, they're already going to suffer. You don't need to cause them, wish them to suffer. They're already going to. So that's the nature of law of karma. So
yeah, but Radha Govinda, let me add to that. You
Yeah.
also, if you look at it, that maybe it's a past life stuff, and you don't even have to be compassionate to them because you leveled it up. So you've done them harm, they do you harm, and then it's finished. So you don't even have to feel that, oh, I've got to be compassionate or.
The devotional principle is that we have to continue service, and even in our mind, in our heart. I mean, according to the Bhagavad Gita, we don't so much give importance to it happened in the past. Therefore, we give more importance to Krishna wants me to learn something. There is something Krishna conscious in this situation. And basic karma, Krishna does say, even if in the previous life I hurt you and this life you're hurting me, or the other way around, there is still karma involved. Regardless of what happened in the previous life, if in this life we are choosing to hurt, we are doing something unfavorable to another person, there is karma involved. I mean, if we say, for example, we take away a friend, let's say, somebody, I drop my old friend and I want to get a new friend. Or say I'm doing business and I'm going and getting client, I'm trying to betray the clients by doing something I shouldn't do. Or stopping somebody from, the worst thing is to stop somebody from doing their service. I mean, recently it happened to me. I was just simply peacefully sitting in a temple and giving a class, and a bunch of girls came to see me, and the caretaker or some sort of a mentor of those girls got really upset that these girls went without informing me. I know for Trisandhya and Deepa, this must be like a kind of strange situation because this happens only in India like that. But so I was actually feeling compassion for the person because this person is creating a karma of not trying to stop somebody from getting some connections, getting association, getting sangha, getting knowledge. So obviously it's a karma. As much as we will justify our spiritual motives, but karma always has some implications. That's why we have to be so careful. We have to be so careful in how we deal with it. Neha is saying it happens outside India also. Yeah, there's a lot of politics about initiation, who gets initiation, who has power to get them initiation. You have to follow me. If you don't come only to my classes, then I won't get you. These are all mundane things, you understand? So we have to have compassion. We need to have that compassion. Ashka must be smiling now. Yeah, Neha is saying I'm facing the same. Yeah, we all went through that. Yeah, Ashka is laughing because she was part of that story as well, so she knows what I'm talking about. Okay, I think, I mean, there's another 2-3 things. Let me quickly mention. Seek a person that knows what it means to feel betrayal and is living in the solution. Yeah, somebody who's a little bit ahead of you, like that, and work toward a tomorrow that will be better than yesterday. So work on making yourself better. Don't get fixated on the past and don't think of how that person should learn the lesson. Krishna has a plan for that person. Let that person be. You focus on your self-development. Keep your side of the road clean. Keep your intentions clean. Wish well for the person. Let that person learn their lessons joyfully. Let's wish them to learn their lessons joyfully. And then counter self-pity by...
Does it
This is very important.
Sorry, Radha Govinda, does it have to be joyful? Isn't there another word?
Gracefully.
Yeah, that would be more.
Like
Yeah, okay.
today, when.
But I don't know if it, I mean, to joyfully do something like that, I don't know if it's possible.
Well, you see, like Khushbu was sharing some principles about this. Like, you don't need to wait for the sorry. You don't need to get down into that spiral, talking about it again and again and getting lost into it. And then another thing she reflected from what I was sharing was, I know who I am. I know what I did, what I didn't. I know that there is no fault in this area, right? So when I know that, I shouldn't go back into that spiral of trying to get forgiveness, trying to make that other person understand, etc., etc. Just let it be.
But that's when it's really, when you really, you've come to that stage of detachment, then only you can do that or think like
Sometimes
that.
they're pushed to come. That's what we were discussing, that it's the fact that the person did something already, they were planning to. And then on top of that, if we are now trying to make them realize, force them to realize our pain, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So
you're stuck in that waiting, aren't you? You're stuck waiting. So why waste your time waiting? Because if you want them to, you want to, yeah.
Yeah, Savitri Mataji gave me an idea that if the person wants to go on talking or something, you put the phone there and you do something when the person talks. Because the person, my empathy is against me sometimes. So it's hard for me to say, I don't want to listen to you, right? But I don't want to listen. So it's...
No, okay. You want to listen because you want them to suffer.
I just want them to admit their faults, not to me, but to the concerned authorities. Okay, the topmost solution is this, my favorite. Counter self-pity by being of service to someone. Go to a meditation, do timekeeping, go and do an outreach call, set up a Gita connection talk, whatever it is. Being of service to somebody else. Because the counter regret by seeking out activities that build your self-esteem. And it works for me every time. Before Krishna connection meeting or Gita connection meeting or Friday meeting or whatever it is, I'm feeling down, I'm feeling disturbed, I'm feeling triggered. And then I come into there, I'm being of service. And for those minutes, my mind is completely absorbed in service. When I come out, I feel my self-esteem has grown and I felt connected to Krishna. And it gives me the strength to think of the next step. So you don't have to react. You just have to act in the right direction. Nothing is easy, okay? But dwelling obsessively and on how I was wronged, it doesn't help us. It only makes us feel self-righteous pain, and it doesn't take me anywhere. It's just a worthless ride. And then turning my pain into an ongoing drama is not very intelligent. And that's exactly what Arjuna was doing. And his ass was kicked by Krishna. I'm sorry. Yeah, Krishna was literally kicking his backside because he was turning that pain into the drama. How can I do it? And then Krishna is like, stop it. What will people talk about you? Because I got into that spiral for a few hours. This midnight like that. I got into that spiral. But actually, I didn't think that I could have called Sri Sandhya because that was her morning, actually. Because I was thinking 2 a.m. who's going to be up anyway? But now I'm thinking, actually, I should think of America. Because when we share this kind of things, it loses its power. Whether it's guilt, whether it's shame, whether it's anger, whether it's that tamoguna, it's the tamas that I want the other person to suffer. When we say it to somebody, actually, it's not what I want. Okay, and then Otherwise, what happens is we act erratic and scattered, and then, be up at 2 a.m. walking in the streets, trying to scream the holy name, which is not a bad idea, but it's not the best. And then we could also get into mourning our loss forever, not looking honestly at the hole inside ourselves because it's too painful or we feel weak. We keep, going into in a different way, and then we don't really work on healing it because it takes courage to heal. And also, another worst thing we can do is talk to the wrong people. Ooh, because it can. Thank you, Neha. Where are you? Night, you mean India? You're in India, right? Yeah. Anyway, that's why we have this outreach.
Yeah, you talk to the wrong people, it can destroy you.
Okay, you're in USA. So yeah, my nighttime, you'll be up in the day. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, talking to wrong people, seeking out those who keep agreeing with you maybe, and then it becomes amplifies our resentment, and it makes us keep feeling victimized more and more. So, and then another thing also we could do is idealizing the past, obsessing over the good times and then mixing things up and no, but this and no, but that and this. Oh, I know that drama. So let's not let that self-pity take over, and let's not regret our state of mind. Let's get up, because these kind of behaviors only makes our betrayal linger for a longer time. That's not what we want. If you find yourself in the position of being the wronged party, let's sit down, work our 12 steps or the 4th step. And with a pen and paper, we write down all the ways that we can do healing, how we can move out of that victimized role, and be objective, be candid. It takes assertiveness. I mean, I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do. I'm talking like I'm expert at this, but I don't even know what I'm going to do. Yeah, I'll send you the slide about, I'll send you an image how to do the 4th step. It's very healing to write down how you're really going to do it. And self-awareness can be very healing. But the best thing is to pray to Krishna. Krishna, I don't know what to do in this situation. Please help me. And detachment. I've asked this person to tell the authorities that she told me exactly what I told, and I'm not the one lying. I told this person, but then I'm detached because I know there's only 10% chance that she would want to do it. Because if she wanted to tell the truth, she would have told it before. So detachment is important. And then I give it to Krishna. Okay, Krishna, whatever. Like that. Okay. The 4th step. Let me send you the. Anything else you want to add? Any of you, please unmute. Kushbu, you want to say something because you have been my inspiration today. Yeah, please go ahead.
I just, can you just explain me a little bit about do not indulge on the emotions you cannot afford. So with some example, I just need some little bit explanation.
Okay, do not indulge in emotions you cannot afford. So it means, like in my situation, whether when I'm talking to you or I'm talking to you all, I'm talking to a friend, I don't exaggerate my feelings. How could she do this to me? And give more energy than it deserves, more energy than I can actually afford. Maybe I should just be going and doing my Gita class, and I shouldn't be sitting and talking about it. And I cannot afford those emotions. So exaggerating the pain, we do that sometimes, believe me. And sometimes we have some other issue that is bothering us, and we may attach that with this person and this situation. So don't indulge in emotions you cannot afford. It basically means really check how much energy you want to give, how much time, energy you really want to invest into this, how much you want to, and this requires intelligence and courage, because Intelligence, because you have to see, if I'm going to keep thinking about it, what will be the result? Am I going somewhere? Am I just wallowing in self-pity? If yes, this is something you cannot afford, because you have your other things to be done. You have your sadhana, you have your sadhana bhakti, you have your studying, you have your chanting, you have your sangha. You cannot be sitting there and crying unnecessarily. At the same time, the other opposite of don't indulge in emotion is the opposite. Don't indulge in suppressing that emotion and trying to show, I'm okay, it's okay, whatever, I don't care what this person says, I don't care if, like sometimes we do that as well. We want to show ourselves stronger than we are. And sometimes we show, at least I show. Sometimes I show stronger than I am. Usually that's my problem. Some of us show ourselves weaker than we are. We want compassion. We want pity. We want others to stand by my side. So we may create, we may have a conviction, this is my karma, I'm suffering for it, but then in front of somebody we may draw the whole picture of I was victimized. I'm just saying, it's probably, Khushbu, your problem is similar to mine, that you cannot afford to keep it, but that's what you do. You kind of pretend to be stronger in dealing with your issues. That's your side. We have to see which side. What does it mean, afford? Don't indulge in emotions you can't afford means which one? Are you over-expressing or are you under-expressing? So under-expressing is also the emotion you're indulging in. We are indulging in the emotion of compensating for my pain by showing that, no, I'm okay because I don't want to deal with my hole. I don't want to deal with my pain. I think
also it's harder for professionals,
Yeah, it's hard for most of us. I think most of us here do that. I think Kalpana does that, Khushbu does that, I do that, Sri Sandhya does that. Like, we try to appear strong for others. We try to appear strong for our kids, maybe. Sometimes we appear strong for our students, whoever, our siblings, like that.
Mm-hmm.
We all try to do that. So that is indulging in emotion as well. There are two sides to that, two sides of the same coin. I know people, even I do that sometimes, but I want this attention, I won't say it that way, but this happened to me, that happened to me. That's where we have to be careful when we take support from each other, that we shouldn't overdo that. We should have discipline in that, not to bother the other person with all our dirt, trash. We need to process it properly. That when we share honestly our issues, but when we are living in the solution and share, it inspires the other person. You see what I mean? If I just go there, lament and regret and vent, it's not inspiring. But when I go there with the sincere, earnest desire to want to find solution, to want to live in the solution, to take responsibility, wow, it's also empowering the other person. Am I right, Khushbu? You are muted if you're saying something. Yeah, she confirms. Okay, anything else? Wow, it's 1 hour. All right.
Mm-hmm. Betrayal does take a lot of time, and you can happily sit in it. Yes. 1 hour gone already, yeah.
Let me see if I can just conclude it. So the two lists and choices, maybe in a stark contrast. Real life is very blurry, okay? Things are very gray. It's not black and white. One day you're on the right track, the next day we are not. One day we're thinking, I want this person to suffer. Another day we are thinking, come on, let them live, let me live. The next day we are train wreck, It's like wild, what is it called? Like there's a wake to something wreck, it's called. So the key is to keep being kind to ourselves, and then only we can be kind to others. And to know that You're being kind when you begin to feel kind towards the person who betrayed you. Let me put this. I know I'm being kind when I begin to feel kind toward the person who betrayed me. It's easier to say you. It's harder to say I. And I know it sounds impossible when the pain is acute, when the wound is fresh, but you can't be kind to yourself unless that feeling of ease and acceptance and tolerance and non-judgment, all those things we want for ourselves, if we don't extend it beyond our self-interest, we can't feel it to ourselves. So kindness is kindness is simply a mask for ego, false ego. So yeah, let us be healed. Maybe let's pray to Krishna that he gives us the strength, just like he gave Arjuna, to face his demons, to stand up, to process, but immediately work on taking responsibility and doing our duties, learning our lessons gracefully. I really want to learn my lessons gracefully, which means I should wish for others to learn their lessons gracefully. Okay, the question is, what if it's an ongoing betrayal, something that we must face daily? Yeah. I think that deserves a whole different analysis. I mean, I have something to share here. Let me, I don't know if I should show it. I think it's fun to show it. I know this is, okay, I have to show this because I found this interesting. I don't know if I should end the live and then share this privately. Yeah, I'm going to end the live. For those of you who are not here, I'm very sorry you're missing a very fantastic part of this class. I'm not betrayed.